So it's now 6:01, so I think we can get started with this evening's webinar. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Mel Burnett, the city's housing and homelessness analyst, and I'm just going to walk us through a few housekeeping items before we get started tonight. So we are going to be having simultaneous Spanish language translation, interpretation provided by qualified interpreters on the Spanish channel. Through Zoom, you can join the Spanish channel by clicking on the interpretation icon in the toolbar. And as a reminder to all of our panelists tonight, I'd ask that everyone speak slowly to allow our interpreter to effectively express your statements. As mentioned, this webinar is being interpreted into Spanish. The Zoom webinar is also being recorded, and a copy of the video will be available on the city's website. The city will not be answering questions live, but we will be answering ones that we've already received. If you have additional questions, please submit them via the Q&A function. The city will then be compiling these questions and posting responses on our city website to our frequently asked questions. Questions that are submitted by Monday, October 7th will be included in that FAQ. And now I'm going to pass it over to our Mayor, Kate Collin, for welcome and further introductions.
Thank you, Mel. Good evening. My name is Kate Collin, and I'm the Mayor of San Rafael. And we are all glad that you're here, either live or watching the recording, because it means you're taking the time to learn more about the city's efforts to resolve local homeless encampments, and specifically, the city and county's joint efforts to resolve the Mahone Creek Path area encampment. We received many questions, and there'll be several answered tonight, and concerns around encampments. And the goal of tonight's webinar is to provide answers, but I want to address one up front, and that is, why is this happening in San Rafael? A primary reason is because the state of California has nearly 1/3 of the nation's homeless population, and most, if not all, cities like San Rafael, with a population of about 65,000 and centrally located in the county, has unhoused people within its borders. But let me be clear, status quo isn't acceptable, as unregulated encampments are terrible for the inhabitants and the impact on the surrounding community is real. The solutions are multifaceted and interconnected, meaning that there isn't just one, but rather it's a layered approach that's both compassionate, restores order, and is effective. The city cannot resolve encampments alone, and this layered approach requires the commitment of many partner agencies and organizations, including in the County of Marin, service providers, law enforcement, the Marin County District Attorney's Office, and you, our residents. So thanks again for being here, and I invite you to continue to engage in the days and months ahead. At the end of the webinar, Councilmember Kurtz will share about how you can participate in a homeless solutions working group where you can provide your ideas and perspectives on how the city can best meet the needs of both the individuals experiencing homelessness and our broader community. As I previously mentioned, the County of Marin is critically important in this endeavor, and I'm grateful for their partnership. Here to say a few words, and I'll now pass it off to Marin County Supervisor Mary Sackett. Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you very much for the invitation to join on this update of homelessness in San Rafael. The county's approach is the housing first strategy, and housing is the only sustainable solution to homelessness. The city, the county, and all of our nonprofit partners have made significant progress in addressing homelessness in recent years, finding permanent housing for over 2,000 individuals. And we know homelessness remains prevalent in San Rafael and throughout Marin. And as Mayor Kate said, it's not acceptable. Marin, like most communities in California, does not have enough affordable housing, not only for those folks that are sleeping on the street, but also for those who are a paycheck or a medical bill away from being evicted and sleeping in their car or sleeping on their street. Continued partnership between the County of Marin and the City of San Rafael is an imperative. Our ongoing partnership with San Rafael includes this new encampment resolution funding that I know we're going to talk about tonight, which we jointly secured from the state. We're committed to working together, and I look forward to listening and learning tonight. And I will now hand it over to Assistant City Manager John Stefanski, or is it Councilmember Kurtz?
I think we'll hand it off to Councilmember Kurtz to talk more about the working group real quick, and then we'll dive into the presentation. So Councilmember Kurtz.
There, unmuted. Thank you very much. Let me switch back. Good evening. I'm Councilmember Rachel Kurtz. I'm excited to share that the City of San Rafael is establishing a homelessness solutions working group that will meet 3 times over the next 6 months to explore ongoing challenges and potential solutions regarding homelessness. We've heard from the community that many want to get involved and better understand the complexities surrounding this issue. This group offers an opportunity for community members to engage directly, provide input, and share their concerns with city officials. The working group's contributions will serve as a foundation for the city's Homelessness Solutions Action Plan, which will be developed in 2025. Additionally, participants will act as trusted messengers, helping to communicate with their neighbors and colleagues about the city, the county's joint efforts to address homelessness in San Rafael. The group will meet virtually on Zoom on the second Tuesday of November, January, and March from 6 to 7:30. Before these meetings, there will be an in-person orientation in late October, featuring the participation of the City Council's Homelessness Subcommittee, including Mayor Kate and myself. The working group is open to San Rafael residents and business or property owners who can commit to attending all 3 meetings. Information on how to join or attend these meetings will be shared on the city's website and at the end of tonight's presentation. I think I hand it back over to John now.
Great. Thank you so much, Councilmember Kurtz. And Mel, we can go to the next slide here. So good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Stefanski. I'm one of our assistant city managers here with the City of San Rafael, and we have a number of updates that we're going to be providing you, the community, this evening. Tonight's presentation is going to cover some city and county collaborations and partnerships, as well as a discussion on the recently released 2024 point-in-time count. We're also going to provide an overview of the County of Marin's roles and responsibilities as it pertains to responding and supporting individuals experiencing homelessness, as well as an overview of the city's camping regulations, as well as the sanctioned camping program. We'll also have a slide with more information regarding the Homelessness Solutions Working Group, and then we'll provide some answers to the questions that we received in advance of this presentation. So we can go to the next slide, Mel. So homelessness is a multifaceted challenge that requires a collaborative approach involving the city, the county, and many of our community-based social service providers. And no single agency can solve this alone. And this is why the city and the county are working to develop a more formal partnership that enhances interagency cooperation to better address the needs of those experiencing homelessness in our community. As you'll hear tonight, the city and county jointly applied for and received $6 million in encampment resolution funding from the state, and they're joining us this evening for this community webinar. And with that, we are incredibly grateful for them to be joining us this evening, and look forward to continuing this partnership with the county. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Gary Najaris.
Thank you. Again, I'm Gary Najaris. I'm the Director for Homelessness and Coordinated Care, a division within the Department of Health and Human Services at the County of Marin. Pleased to be able to share some of the successes as well as exciting collaborative work that we've had with the City of San Rafael. I think we might have skipped some slides. Yeah, there we go. So just to give an overall picture for folks, based on our most recent point in time count, which was just released this past Tuesday, there are currently 1,090 individuals who are homeless living in Marin. Again, the point in time count is just a snapshot. It's just one piece of data that we have to help describe our homeless population. It's an opportunity for us to look at those numbers compared from year to year, but it's just one piece of data. So of those 1,090 people, 788 were unsheltered or living in vehicles, on the street, tents, etc. 217 of those individuals are chronically homeless. And important to understand the definition here of chronic homelessness. It's a two-part definition. The first is being homeless for more than a year, and the second is having some type of identified disability. So we're talking about individuals with longer experiences of homelessness who have disabilities who are living on the street. So a critical population for us to prioritize to get connected back to housing as directly as possible. And overall, this 1,090 number represents a 3% decrease from the 2022 PID count. One of the reasons why that decrease is not higher is that we've captured a number of additional individuals and families who are living on farms and ranches in West Marin whose current housing does not qualify as housing based on the definition from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's through our extensive partnerships with organizations in West Marin that we were able to identify this critical population and the need that they have. If we hadn't captured those folks, the decrease would have been more like 10%, but I think critical that they have been included in the count this year so that we can work with partners out there as well to address that issue. In San Rafael, the point in time count shows 326 homeless individuals, 264 unsheltered, living on the street. The cities of San Rafael and Novato have sheltered numbers in the point in time count because a number of our shelters as part of our continuum of care are located and have been supported in significant ways by the cities that they're in. So you may be familiar with Homeward Bound's Jonathan's Place, which is in San Rafael, and the New Beginning Shelter, which is in Novato. So that's why there are 62 sheltered folks listed in San Rafael. Overall, this is a 6% decrease since the last point in time count. Next slide. So among our priority populations, we saw a 24% reduction in chronic homelessness. That includes individuals and families who are chronically homeless, a significant decrease from the 2022 point in time count. We saw a 12% reduction in families who are homeless overall, significant progress, a 32% reduction in veteran homelessness, which will reduce even further as the new Home Key 3 project with Homeward Bound for veterans becomes fully occupied, and a 12% reduction in unaccompanied youth homelessness. So this shows that the work that our entire system is doing, including in partnership with communities and CBOs to reduce homelessness among these most vulnerable populations, is working. Next slide, please. So how does someone who's homeless get connected to services and supports? What is that process like? And how many folks do we have in that system? So when we are made aware, either through communities, CBOs, calls from individuals themselves or from folks who care about them, that someone's homeless, those folks are referred into what's called our coordinated entry system. And if you care about or concerned about someone who's homeless, you can call us at 473-HOME or email at hhshome@marincounty.gov, and we'll make sure those folks get entered into our system. Once someone gets entered, folks are as they are enrolled, they are also assessed for what's happening in their lives and what challenges and experiences and vulnerabilities they might have. Those folks are then prioritized for housing based on that vulnerability so that individuals with the highest vulnerability raised to the top of that coordinated entry list. We currently have over 750 individuals prioritized at the top of the list in coordinated entry. Our outreach teams work every day out in communities across the county. We have specialized teams in Novato and San Rafael, one that covers Central and West Marin, and one that covers Southern Marin. These folks work with clients on any need that they might have: food, water, referrals to shelter, connection to social services and benefits, whatever the client might need. A number of folks who are homeless, almost 30%, have some kind of employment. So we want to work with those folks to identify what temporary supports they might need to get connected back to housing. And that's through a program we call rapid rehousing. That helps folks with things like security deposits, first and last month's rent, to get folks connected. Through this mechanism, we've housed over 1,600 individuals since 2017. We also have housing-focused shelter and transitional housing. We have over 230 beds of shelter and over 100 beds of transitional housing that are often 95% or more full on any given day for folks who are taking that next step to get off the streets and into a permanent housing destination. And then finally, for folks who have long experiences of homelessness and who are disabled, we assign those folks housing-based case management and get them connected to Section 8 vouchers as quickly as possible. Those case managers continue to work with individuals even after they're housed to ensure that they don't return to homelessness. And our system has been so successful that we have a 94% retention rate for chronically homeless individuals in housing. Next slide. And then finally, we have collaboration between all of our divisions at Health and Human Services, Social Services, Public Health, and Behavioral Health and Recovery Services through an initiative we call Coordinated Care to ensure that any entitlement, service, or support that we are in control of in HHS that a homeless person is eligible for, that they get as quickly as possible. And finally, those services and supports are provided both while someone is experiencing homelessness and on the street, and after they're housed to continue to ensure long-term stability and prevent a return to homelessness. Next slide. And finally, we've seen 144% increase since 2016 in the amount of permanent supportive housing beds that we have in the county. Since that time, over 550 individuals have been placed in apartments throughout the county, and over 260 individuals into single site locations, things you might all be familiar with, like home key projects. We had 61 home key beds that opened at the beginning of 2024, and another 64 beds coming online in winter 2024-2025. And finally, in the county, in partnership with the Marin Housing Authority, provides additional supports and services to landlords to ensure that those over 550 clients who are connected to apartments in the community are supported by their landlord, and that we continue to have those kinds of opportunities throughout the county. Next slide. These are the latest and greatest numbers. Literally, these were just published to our website this afternoon, but our success since 2017, truly in partnership with communities and our community-based organization, we have housed over 804 chronically homeless, those long-term disabled clients since 2017. 94%, as I said, of those remain housed. We've housed 116 veterans since that time and 234 families. And as I was saying earlier, we have over almost 240 shelter beds in the county and 108 transitional housing beds. That system has served over 2,000 unique clients since 2017. Next slide. And now I'll hand it back to John and the city.
All right, thank you so much, Gary. So as Gary kind of noted here, the city and the county have had a lot of great success in working with service providers. In San Rafael, we've been able to successfully house over 380 individuals who are facing long-term homelessness in our city. And we continue to collaborate with service providers to connect individuals experiencing homelessness with case management to get them successfully housed. Of note, in recent years, the city's Affordable Housing Trust Fund has invested more than $3 million for supportive housing developments, such as the 3301 Kerner and Jonathan's Place projects. And the city is also funding the Specialized Assistance for Everyone, or SAFE team, which is a mobile mental health crisis response unit that's operated by Petaluma People Services, which addresses various crises and provides critical support operating 12 hours a day and 7 days a week. In fiscal year 2023-24, the SAFE team responded to over 3,000 calls for service, and more than half of those calls were in response or were responding to assist an individual experiencing homelessness. Next slide. So talking about some other city actions, one of the things that our office oftentimes gets a number of emails and phone calls from residents is inquiring around what we're doing around enforcement in San Rafael. And so over the past year, the city has worked to address the public health and safety concerns that are related to encampments in the city. And of note, it was a year ago that the city enforced the fire code to abate the fire risks associated with the proliferation of wooden pallets and illegal wooden structures throughout the Mahone Creek area encampment. Shortly thereafter, in December, the city manager issued an order prohibiting camping along Lindaro Street, and the city cleaned up that area. And for most of the last 4 months of this year, the city has been pursuing enforcement efforts aimed at addressing more illegally constructed structures. Of note, the city has noticed and abated over 50 structures and have cleaned up well over 31 tons of material and debris from encampments. I'll also add that when we do this work, we also provide individuals with new replacement tents and provide individuals with an option to store their personal property for up to 90 days. And the next few slides here show some before and after photos of this work. So we can go to the next slide, Mel. So here's a picture of Francisco Boulevard before and after. Do the next slide. Similarly, here's along Anderson Drive before and after. And then the next one. And this is a more recent photo taken of Mahone Creek Path before and after as well. So in late August, the City Council adopted new camping on public property regulations, which take effect tomorrow. And under these regulations, camping is permitted in San Rafael on certain public properties, so long as individuals are complying with the campsite size maximums and setback requirements outlined in the ordinance. So now, campsites cannot be larger than 200 square feet for one person, or 400 square feet for up to 4 people. They have to be 10 feet from other campsites, public utility infrastructure, and private property lines. They must also be 5 feet from roadway pavement, 250 feet from schools, and 100 feet from playgrounds. Structures are expressly prohibited, and individuals cannot store any building materials on public property either. Go to the next slide. Camping is prohibited at certain designated properties in the city, including Albert Park, Boyd Park, the Falkirk Cultural Center, the portion of Lindaro Street that I just talked about, and starting next Wednesday, the southern portion of the Mahone Creek Path. Camping is also prohibited on open space properties, parking garages, public facilities, public rights-of-way, and sidewalks as well. Next slide. So with these new regulations in place, how will the city enforce violations? So under the new ordinance, if somebody is camping in a prohibited area, they will be required to remove their campsite immediately. If someone's campsite isn't in compliance with the size maximums and setback requirements, we'll work with them and give them 48 hours to come in compliance. However, if there are exigent circumstances, the city will take action to require them to remove their campsites immediately for safety reasons. If somebody constructs an unpermitted structure, we'll give them 48 hours to take the structure down and come into compliance with the camping ordinance prior to the city sending out a crew to abate the structure. These are just the enforcement protocols that are in our camping ordinance now, and the city has many other avenues to address the public safety and health impacts that are often related to large unregulated encampments as well, including the penal code for certain criminal activities. And moving forward, the city will have a regular cadence of enforcement of the camping ordinance. And you can also email concerns that you see to citymanager@cityofsanrafael.org, and a member of our team will be in contact with you. Next slide. So the next few slides here of the presentation will detail the new sanctioned camping area along the northern section of the Mahone Creek Path. Of note and very exciting to share is that the sanctioned camping area will open tomorrow, and starting next week, there will be a number of enforcement actions that are going to take place. On Monday, the city will be enforcing the camping ordinance at Anderson between Rice and Irwin. Camping will be prohibited in this location due to the setback requirements in the ordinance that will make it individuals won't be able to camp there. On Thursday of next week, the city will prohibit camping on the southern portion of the Mahone Path, and this area will serve as a buffer area for the sanctioned camping area and will be returned to its original intended purpose as a multimodal pathway. And on Friday of next week, the city will be enforcing campsite size maximums and setbacks along the balance of Anderson Drive near the Mahone Creek Path. And with that, I'll now pass it over to Mel Burnett, our housing and homelessness analyst for the city, who has also been one of our key staff members working tirelessly to establish this sanctioned camping area. And so with that, I'll hand it over to you, Mel. Thanks.
Thank you, John. So this next slide will be speaking to why we're establishing a sanctioned camping program. So like many counties, Marin County lacks sufficient shelter space and affordable housing for individuals experiencing homelessness, leading to many people being camping on public property. The city did see success with a similar approach through the Service Support Area, or the SSA, that housed over 70% of participants in that program. Building on this success, the new dedicated resources and improved conditions for unhoused individuals are expected to yield similar results. Additionally, the sanctioned camping program aims to enhance stability and safety in the surrounding area during its temporary implementation. So the city of San Rafael and County of Marin jointly applied for and were awarded $5,999,241 in the Encampment Resolution Funding Round 3, or ERF3 funds, to address the Mahone Creek Path area encampment. The grant supports the Sanctioned Camping Area Program, which connects encampment residents to case management, permanent housing, rapid rehousing subsidies, and supportive services to end homelessness. The County of Marin's Department of Health and Human Services will be contracting with a housing case management provider for 3 full-time housing-based case managers and 1 full-time outreach worker. These staff will be providing services to the identified grant-eligible individuals who are residing in these areas prior to the grant application date. These funds are being used to develop and operate the sanctioned camping area within San Rafael along a portion of the Mahone Creek Path, as well as an interim shelter program to be developed in the future within the grant expenditure timeline. So this slide shows the portion of the Mahone Creek Path between Francisco Boulevard West and Lincoln Avenue where the sanctioned camping area has been established. The image on this slide shows an aerial schematic of the sanctioned camping area prior to development. The sanctioned camping area will be serving as a low barrier, housing focused, safe sleeping site. Elements of the sanctioned camping area include the installation of an 8-foot chain link fence with privacy screening and gates on both ends for controlled access. 24/7 security personnel has already started on site since development began and is being provided by Defense Block Security. FS Global has already started on site and will be providing janitorial and program management services to camp participants. Additional regular services include portable restrooms, including ADA accessible units, garbage pickup provided by Marin Sanitary, potable drinking water, and weekly shower services will be provided to camp participants. This next slide shows photos that were taken at the Sanctioned camping area just this afternoon, showing tent sites set up, and the photo in the middle shows one of the security guard stations that are positioned at each of the gate entrances. I'd also like to speak to why this is being established along the Mahone Path. This slide is also to address that, and it also serves as a before photo prior to development starting. So individuals experiencing homelessness have been camping in this area in recent years. When the city banned camping at Albert Park, members of that encampment relocated to the Mahone Creek area, including a portion of Lindaro Street. In December of last year, the city then banned camping along Lindaro Street, resulting in more individuals moving to the nearby Mahone Creek Path and along Anderson Drive. In addition to individuals being already located in the Mahone Creek area encampment, the city is pursuing the sanctioned camping area along the northern section of this path for some of these reasons below. The ERF3 grant requires funds to be used for alternative shelter near the existing Mahone Creek Path encampment. Service providers have also recommended that for the site to be walkable for access to services and food, so to locate those in proximity that's walkable. Additionally, for the location to minimize disruption to those who are already camping in the area. The city does currently have site selection constraints, as the city does not own suitable land elsewhere for this type of program, and a year-long search for private property options has so far been unsuccessful. The goal is also to provide more dedicated services to individuals on their path to permanent housing. As this will be a temporary program, an additional goal is to move people into either permanent housing or interim and transitional housing as those units become available. I'd now like to introduce staff from FS Global, who is our program management service provider on the site. So I'll pass it over to Caden and Max to introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name's Max. I run operations for FS Global. I also just want to start out by saying how grateful I am to San Rafael and the county. I think the team you guys have put together is really top notch, and it's really an honor to be a part of it. We're just putting the final touches on the safe sleeping spot tonight, and we're ready to open tomorrow. Really excited about it. And Caden, if you want to introduce yourself, I'll let you do that.
Thank you. My name's Caden. I work with FS Global. As I'm sure you can see by both of our backgrounds, we're out here making it happen, and we'll be making the deadline by tomorrow to open. So we're very excited for this project, and it's been great working with San Rafael, and we look forward to continue to work with the San Rafael and the community around San Rafael as well. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you both. So I'll now be passing it off to Defense Block Security. And I see that the Director of Security, Denise Little, is on. So Denise, I'm inviting you to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denise Little. I am the Director of Operations for Defense Block Security. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our history and some of our experience working on these type of sites. Defense Block was incorporated in 2010. Our current owner, Mr. Fred Pena, became co-owner in 2019, and then I joined as Director of Operations in December of 2020. We first were approached in early 2020 by the County of Sonoma, and they were in need, of course, when the COVID crisis hit. We were asked to assist on an emergency COVID housing for the chronically homeless at Sonoma State University. From there, it kind of blossomed. I say that this has become kind of our niche in security. We continued to work with the County of Sonoma from 2020 through 2024 on 8 different interim housing sites. And at one point, all 8 simultaneously running 24-hour, 7-day-a-week security services. Working with the city of San Rafael, this will be our third sanctioned encampment that we have worked on. The previous two were with, again, the County of Sonoma, and then the successful SSP with the City of Rohnert Park. Currently, we work also with a lot of nonprofit organizations working in interim and supportive housing. And we just wanted to explain, well, first of all, we're very excited. We're very thankful. We're proud of how the sites come together, and just explain really what our role is. We always like to just give a quick explanation. Our role as security on site, we always want to make a distinction. We're not law enforcement. We're not the service provider. We're really there as a support to the service provider. I always like to say we're there to enforce the rules and the policies and procedures that have been put into place. We want to create a safe environment for the service provider, but also for the participants, so that we provide a safe living environment, so that they feel safe, so that hopefully that they are more receptive to services. We look forward to working with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. So I'd also like to speak to phase 2 of the ERF3 grant, which would be interim shelter. So the city will continue to contemplate and explore the development of a new interim shelter project or a tiny home village. As previously mentioned, through the city's recent year-long search, identifying a site has so far been unsuccessful. The city inquired with over 20 property owners and reviewed 5 city-owned parcels, and the site selection process does continue. Once a viable site is identified, the city will work through a public process to ensure members of the public have an opportunity to provide feedback on the proposed program. So now we'll be sharing and responding to questions that were submitted previously from the public. I'll be reading the questions, and some responses will be coming from city staff and others will come from County of Marin staff. Our first question, what happens to the people who are not in the sanctioned camping area? John, would you be able to speak to that?
Yeah, thanks, Mel. So all individuals eligible for services through the ERF grant will receive rapid rehousing support, outreach, or housing-based case management services based on their needs and identified permanent housing destinations. Eligible individuals not participating in the sanctioned camp will continue to be outreached and offered these grant-funded services. Individuals camping on the southern portion of the Mahone Path and on Anderson Drive between Irwin and Rice, who are either ineligible for or choose not to participate in the sanctioned camp, will be required to relocate from these areas. Those camping on Anderson Drive between Lindaro and Irwin, who are ineligible or choose not to participate in the sanctioned camp, must ensure that their campsites comply with city ordinances if they choose to remain in that location. All individuals who are homeless will continue to be referred into the countywide coordinated entry program, where they will be assessed and matched with appropriate services, and outreach teams will continue to work with individuals experiencing homelessness in the city, no matter where they reside.
Thank you. Our next question is, what mechanism has the city set up to receive and address complaints from the public about the camp?
So if members of the public have concerns regarding the sanctioned camping area, they can submit them online at the city sanctioned camping area programs website. We'll have a form up there where residents can submit their complaints or their comments, and they can also send them to citymanager@cityofsanrafael.org. And again, a member of our team will be in contact with them regarding the situation and any anticipated next steps.
What is the process for reporting incidents related to encampments, including illegal activities and disruptive behavior? And how is this information acted upon?
So if you witness any illegal activities or disruptive behavior, please contact SRPD's non-emergency line at 415-485-3000. we can't underscore this enough because this provides data and information for our police department to then adjust their approach. If you have questions and concerns regarding compliance with the camping ordinance, as I mentioned, you can email citymanager@cityofsanrafael.org, and a member of our team will be in touch. For our police department to address issues of illegal activity occurring at a business or other location, the person observing the illegal activity must call to report it. And although we would always like to have SRPD be everywhere, we're constrained by the number of officers that we have in the field at any given time. And as such, we rely on our community members to partner with us to be our eyes and ears for the incidents that occur outside of SRPD's presence. In addition, the city is implementing technologies such as automated license plate readers or flock cameras, and are looking at using other systems during investigations to investigate crimes in the manner that would lead to a successful prosecution. We also direct our officers to proactively patrol areas experiencing increased levels of crime to address specific issues as they arise. And SRPD also conducts daily foot and vehicle patrols in the area of the Mahone Creek Path encampment, and they have made multiple arrests and remain committed to a zero tolerance approach towards that criminal activity. But I just want to underscore that we really encourage members of our community to call SRPD and report when they see any illegal activities or disruptive behavior.
Thank you. What is the city doing to address the encampments along Anderson Drive? And what will the city do to ensure encampments do not continue to grow?
So earlier this week, the city noticed all of the campsites along Anderson Drive between Rice and Irwin. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, this location under the new camping ordinance will no longer permit camping due to its proximity to private property lines and the roadway. And so starting early next week, those individuals will need to relocate off of that property. The city will also be noticing the remainder of Anderson Drive to come in compliance with the camping ordinance on Tuesday of next week, and those individuals will have 48 hours to come into compliance. So that will be on Thursday of next week. As I mentioned, following these efforts, the city will engage in a regular cadence of encampment monitoring and campsite monitoring to ensure that individuals are complying with the city's camping ordinance. And again, we encourage members of our community to email citymanager@cityofsanrafael.org to share any individual sites or information that you have or that you would like a member of our team to follow up with you on.
Thank you, John. These next two questions I'll be directing to our county colleague, Gary Najaris. Why are all resources being diverted to permanent supportive housing projects without expanding available shelter beds to get people off the street now?
So actually, all resources are not diverted to permanent supportive housing projects. Although it's not possible to always fund expansion of expensive services like shelter and housing at the same time, when the county has been able to secure resources, those have primarily been prioritized to permanent housing to ensure that individuals have a permanent housing destination from the street, not just a temporary one. However, the county does operate a robust shelter and interim housing system, both of which operate at almost full capacity on a regular basis. Referrals to those are made regularly. And when we do have the opportunity to expand, for example, in the past year, we added about 60 units of shelter related to some specific projects under another ERF in West Marin. So when those resources are available, we do deploy them, but we always want to ensure that the permanent housing destination is the most direct route for individuals.
Thank you. And then the next one, can the city get more housing vouchers for homeless residents?
So in a manner of speaking, yes. So the Marin Housing Authority allows the county to refer 50 individuals per year to the Section 8 waiting list. That's not a lot, and to be eligible for referral, individuals must be assigned a housing-based case manager and complete all required Section 8 paperwork and eligibility criteria. By receiving funding for housing-based case managers under the Encampment Resolution Fund, individuals at Mahone will be assigned a case manager who might not have previously had access to that limited resource.
Thank you, Gary. So this next slide speaks to our communication plan. The outlets shown on this slide are places that you would be able to receive regular updates on the Sanctioned Camp, homelessness response, and future programs under the ERF3 grant. Visiting the city's dedicated webpage to the Sanctioned Camp, as well as the main homelessness page. Social media, you can follow the City of San Rafael on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The city's interactive story map was recently put up on the homelessness webpage and provides details on the Sanctioned Camp's progress and overall homelessness response. This again is found on that main homelessness webpage at the top. You can sign up for the homelessness newsletter through the city's website. These updates and developments will be provided straight to your email inbox. And communication with city staff that are providing regular outreach and collaborating with our community partners from agencies such as Downtown Streets Team, St. Vincent de Paul, the CARE Team, and the Ritter Center. I'd like to provide a reminder to the upcoming Homelessness Solutions Working Group. This QR code will take you to the city's website with more information, and the link shown on the bottom is to that same page as well. Meetings will be held on November 12th, January 14th, and March 11th, and all meetings are open and can be viewed by the public. This slide also provides contact information for concerns and issues. So reporting any complaints or concerns with the camping ordinance can be emailed to the city manager's office at the email shown here. Please report any illegal activities to the San Rafael Police Department at the phone number shown on the screen. And the San Rafael SAFE team, which stands for Specialized Assistance for Everyone, can be reached at the number shown here. SAFE provides a mobile crisis response team in San Rafael, and an emergency dispatcher will answer and determine if SAFE needs to be dispatched. And with that, we greatly appreciate you all tuning in tonight and joining us. We thank you for your support and your continued engagement. Please feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions. Thank you so much.